not the last. The next question was on create a program that calculates the area of a rectangle, and you have to ask the user to input the length and the width of the rectangle you want. Then you get a response. So the same method that you first one. So when you run it, to ask for the length of the rectangle is 5, for the width is 7. Then the response, the calculation is done. Calculation is just what's the name? Is the area is length times width. So I use this function, the multiplication function, the asterisk to calculate greater than the response. So the area of the rectangle is length 5 and width 0 is 5. And that takes us to the last question, which was conditional statement. And the question asks that we should input an age, and then if the age is greater than 18, the result should be an adult. And if the age is less than 18, the result should be a minor. So then by this one, so I use the input age, the input function that and this is a conditional statement. If the age is greater than or equal to 18, the response should be an adult. Else, anything less than 18, the response is like a minor. Let's run it. Age, so say 18, so 16 response would be a minor. Let's run it for the other. Yeah, adult. So the last question is the same concept, but this one has a third variable in there. Asking for if you enter a number and it's positive, the answer should be this a positive number. If it's negative, it should be a negative number, and if it's 0, the response should be 0. So I use the if else statement, but if I added the element, so that I can add a third variable. So if the number is greater than 0, let's give a number greater than 0. Response is this a positive number. If it is less than 0, negative 5 is a negative number. Anything else, give 0, 0. This number is 0. So that's how I did. So
yeah, so I think this looks good. Do we have any questions for him? Hello. Hello.
We are here.
Yeah.
Pasty.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for him, or you all understand?
We all understand, but assigning of comments to the line of code were few. It was just plain.
Like the comments.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like I said, comment is something optional, just to make sure that when you pick your codes, some days in the future, you'll be able to tell what you're trying to do. Otherwise, if another person is going to work on your project or collaborate with you, they should be able to understand what you're trying to do over there. So yeah, that's the first comment that came in. It's related to comments. Any other? Anybody with a concern before we start? So we all understand. Okay.
Yes.
So Nick, you can stop sharing your screen for now. Okay. So where are the rest? I have about 38 at the moment. Okay. Do notify me if you can see my screen.
Yeah.
That's your screen.
All right, sure. So good morning and welcome back. Today's session is going to be a bit brief. So I think yesterday we were able to cover loops. So I'll have to resend you this material because I've added what we are going to do today to it. I was supposed to create a new file, but I just had to add it to it. So yesterday we ended somewhere here. We were able to go through all of the loops and we'll go here. This is what we couldn't do. So we are going to look at functions. Now, when we are done with functions, we'll look at object-oriented programming. And then finally, we'll talk about modules and then we are done for the day. So if you have any question as we are moving on, kindly notify me so we can address that. Okay, so any question from what we did yesterday before we kickstart? Any questions? If there isn't any question, kindly notify me so I can proceed.
You can proceed.
All right, sure. So today we are going to talk about functions. Okay, so function is nothing than a block of code that you write, and that particular block of code will never get executed until you make a call to it. So we usually use functions to reduce repetitions. So you realize that sometimes you have to do something and you have to keep writing the exact same code you've been writing. So let me open my Jupyter. So like I said, I like to use the prompt. It's a bit fast for me. I'm using Jupyter Lab. You can go through Anaconda and that, but I think this is a bit faster, so I prefer doing this. All right. So today we are going to handle this one. So we're going to create our first file for, let me rename this one to functions. So this is what we are going to do today. So imagine you wanted to do some computations like addition. Now all you're going to do is first, you're going to ask, for example, the user to enter the first number, the second number, then you put them together to give you the result. So let's see how to do that. So let me first introduction to Python functions. Change this one here to a markdown. And so let's say that just like what Nick just did, let's say we want to ask the user to enter the first number and the second number they want to compute or put together. Okay. So what we are going to do is, let's say this is our first number. Let's call the first number X. Okay. Now, what we are going to do here is to ask the user to input something. Okay. So this is the input. Let's see, say enter first number like this. Now, if I run this, it is asking me to enter the first number. Let's say 12. Then we are good to go. Now, you realize that Nick was trying to wrap everything here in either integer, float, or something. Now, let's check. I want to understand the reason why he was doing that. So in order to understand that, we just ask the user to input something. Let's check the data type of whatever thing the person typed, X. Now let's enter some number. And you can see this one here is now a string. Now this is because anything the input is going to accept, it's formatted as a string or convert it to a string and then return it to us. So that's the reason why you saw Nick doing something like wrapping everything here around an integer. So let's say you are asking the person to enter the second number. So let me copy everything here and say enter the second number. All right. So enter the first number 12, enter the second number 13. Now what we want to do is to put these two numbers here together to give us x, sorry, x plus y, and then a result. But let's try this one. The result is actually z. So let's do x plus y and then see what's going to happen. Now I'll print z on the screen. So let's put the first number 13, 12, 10, and you see it is giving us 12 and 10. You remember what we said this guy here is? It is for concatenation. It tries to put two different things together. Now this is a string and this is a string. So trying to put them together gives us that. So PJ, come in.
Pasty, I'm sorry, but I think I'm a bit confused. I'm not sure what's going on the screen right now.
You don't understand this?
Yeah, I don't know. It looks, I don't know.
Okay, so were you here when Nick was presented?
Yeah, I got the latter part of what he was doing. I didn't get the whole thing.
Okay, so what we are trying to do is that, you see, yesterday we go through up to this point. Do you remember? We were able to do loops.
Yes.
Or we didn't do loops.
No, we didn't do loops.
We didn't do loops, eh? Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Then, okay, since we've touched on the functions, let's finish the functions, then we come back to loops. I thought we did loops. Sorry about
But
that.
will we be able to understand the functions without going back to the loops?
Yeah, you'll be able to understand.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say here is that a function is just a block of code that is going to get executed only when you call it. So if you write a piece of code, you see this one here. When you write this piece of code and then you run like this, it automatically gets executed, okay? But in the case of function, if you write a function over here and you run it, it won't get executed until you call that function. Now, the rationale behind the function is what I'm trying to explain, that sometimes we have something you may want to do, but then it keeps repeating. So you do it at this point, another point you meet it, you have to do it again. That means you have to copy those old codes, paste it, and then change a few things and then run it again. Do you understand? So we want to try and then avoid that. So what I'm trying to create right now is the problem. And then when we are done with this problem, we look at the best way we can use functions to solve the same problem. Okay. So to do that, we are saying that we have an input value called X. Now, this input here, what it does is anytime you want someone to enter something from the keyboard for you, you use input. You remember print says that, hey, the whole job of print is to display something on the screen. Now we have another function called input. All it does is it allows the user to enter something from the keyboard. Do you understand?
Yes,
PJ?
yes, I do.
Okay,
I
good.
do.
So instead of doing maybe x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 12, then I do z is equal to x plus y. I'm saying that, so it means anytime I have to I need to compute something else. This is running, that's why. But let me do this and this. Okay. Anytime I want to accept different values, I have to come here and then change this to like 12 and here to like 15. So to avoid this, we just ask the user to enter his own set of numbers. And we use the input function to accept the user input. Okay. So that's the reason why you see input, enter first number, and then input, enter second number. Now, whatever thing the person typed is the X, and what the person typed over here is the Y. So we are trying to put the two numbers the person typed together and then store it in a variable called Z. They will try to display Z. So we are trying to test it. You see, it's trying to execute this line to say that enter first number, I enter 10, enter second number, I enter 20. But this is what's happening. It's giving me 10, 20. It couldn't put them together. And the reason is that this one is a string and this is also a string. I can prove that to you by saying that I want to check the data type of the result that is coming in. And you can see it is a string. So we can decide to wrap this value here around an integer to say int. You remember yesterday we said we could convert something from a string to integer. We can convert between data types. So when I'm done converting this, this is now an integer. This is still a string. So I would want to convert it also to an integer. Now, if I should run this and say 12, of course, this 12 is a string. And then this 13 is also a string. But when it gets here, it will be converted to an integer, and then put them together. So you can see that the data type is now an int. So let's say I'm not interested in the data type, but I want to put the result on the screen. More like a very simple calculator. So 12 and then negative, say 18. And the answer is negative 6. Okay. Now look at this. Anytime we need to accept user input, we have to maybe copy everything here and then come and paste. Then we change a few things over here. Now this is the problem functions seeks to solve. So this is how we'll do this. You first of all have to start with the define keyword, which is the def, the name of the function, and the code you want to execute within that block of code or that function. So let's say we wanted to create a function to greet someone. It means that I would want to say, what is your name? Now you enter your name, maybe John. What I want to do is to do something like print good morning. Then I put a comma and then name. So if I get your name, it will say maybe good morning, John. So let me try and then interrupt this one. Okay. Let me restart my kernel. Okay. So if I run this, you can see it says good morning, John. What if I want to do good morning, Amma? I have to copy this and then paste it here and say put Amma here, and now it will say good morning, Amma. What if I want to do Kofi? I have to put another Kofi here. So you can see I'm trying to repeat all of these codes, but that is not the agenda. What we'll try to do is to write a very simple code called function. As and when we need it, we don't have to write all of these plenty codes. And this guy here can also be dynamic. So this is how I'll go about it. I'll say that, okay, let's look at the signature. It is saying that write the def keyword, the name of the function, followed by this parenthesis. Then you write your code here. So let's try and then do exactly what we have here. So we are going to say, we want to define a function that say greet. All right, like this. So if you say greet, we can now say that, who do you want to greet? So we are going to put everything here up there. Yes. Now, if I should run this block, what do you think is going to happen? Anybody with an idea? Anybody with an idea? I want you to look at the definition of a function and then tell me what's going to happen if I run this block of code.
Hi, Pasty.
Yeah.
So we've defined the function, but we are not particularly calling it, so I don't think much will happen.
Okay. So this is what someone is saying. A person is saying that if we decide to run this block of code, we are not going to see anything on the screen. And of course, that's true. We didn't get anything on the screen. If you want to see something on the screen, then you have to call this function name. Okay. So if I say greet, this time around, we are going to see something like good morning, John, like that. Do you see? So if I call greet again, it is going to say another good morning, John. So that is the whole idea of this guy. So look at this. We define a function called greet. This is what we want to execute. Print hello world. Then at the end of the day, we come to call the function called greet. So when I call this function greet, it is able to display something on the screen for me. Any question about what we have here? Any confusion? Anything?
Pasty.
Yeah, come in.
Yeah, so in this case, if you want to change the name, right, then we only have to go to the name, the variable name, John, and then we change the name there, right?
Yeah. Per this code, if you want to
Yep.
change the name to something else, you have to come here and say Ama. Okay. Then if I call this function greet, it is able to say good morning, Ama. So just like you're saying, I hope you can spot the challenge here. It means as and when I need to input a different name, I have to go back to the function and then update it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but then it's not so much different from not creating the function, because in that way you have to go to the name and then you change it.
Exactly. So that is going to bring us to another idea of functions with arguments. Now, this time around, we are not going to fix this value here. We are going to say that, hey, so let's go to greet updated, okay? Let's say we are going to define another function called greet updated, or let's say updated greet. So u underscore greet, like this. Now, this time around, we are not going to store the name over here. We are just going to call this guy good morning and then name. Now, where is the name coming from? We can pass the name to this guy here, this bracket up here, to say that name. What this thing here means is that, you see over here, we just did greet, these two brackets, and we were done. But this time around, when you call greet, you have to pass something to it. And whatever thing you are going to pass here is going to say good morning, that thing you passed. Do you understand? So, you remember, back in high school, you were doing something called functions, where we had, if you have a function f of x, such that this is 2x plus 4. If someone asks you to compute f of 2, what is the result for this one? Of course, it is 2 into brackets 2 plus 4, isn't it? And that is 8. Are we correct?
Yeah.
Okay. What about 2 negative 2? What is this? This is 2, and this 2, the first 2 is coming from this 2. The second one is x, and x is what we have here. So whatever thing we have here, we are going to put it in place of x to say that negative 2. Then we have some plus and then 4, because we have plus 4. Now this is going to give us what? they have something like a 0. Do you understand? Now, the function definition for this mathematical equation is here. The how do we call it? The parameter is what we have here as small x. This x is just a placeholder. It is representing something that the user is going to type. Now, anything the user type, we have to slot it in here. The same thing applies to what we have here. If I come here to say that I want to say u_greet, that is our updated greet. If I run this, I'm going to get myself in trouble. But let's go ahead and do it. Now let's read the error. So this is the error message. It says that u_greet missing one required positional argument name. So it is trying to tell us that, hey, when I pick this function greet, it requires you to enter a name over here. But when you are calling the greet, that value is missing. So it is trying to force you to put something over there. So let's say I want to greet Amma. Okay, so let me take everything here off to have a very clean screen to say that u_greet, then I can put Amma here. Now, if I run this, you can see something like good morning, Amma. If you want to greet Kojo, you say u_greet Kojo. So you can see good morning, Amma, and the good morning, Kojo. Please, does that solve the problem you're raising?
Yes, Pasty. So can we combine the input function with this function here so that it gives the user the opportunity to input a name before
Exactly. Exactly. So now let's look at it. So we are going to say that we want to define a function. So let me copy everything here. This time around, we are not going to accept numbers. Okay. So we are going to update our greet. Do you understand? We are going to update our greet again. So let's see. We are going to define uu_greet. Okay. Now we are going to ask maybe the person to enter his name. So we don't need to pass it here. We can just come here and then paste all of this code here. Let me take this one out and say name. Enter your name. Like that. So once we have enter your name, we can now go ahead and say good morning. Then your name follows. So let's try and then run this code here and see. It is greet, sorry. Okay. Now we are going to do uu_greet. Okay. Now you remember we are not going to pass anything to this because we are going to ask the user to enter his name, right? Because this function here doesn't take anything. It was this function that said, hey, you have to put something there. So if I call uu_greet, look at what's happening. It is asking you of your name. That means it is at this point. Okay, so let me say my name is Pasty and Asamoah, and it says, good morning, Pasty Asamoah. So you can see how easy and then flexible we can do this. Anywhere you want to greet someone, all you need to do is to do uu_greet. Just call this guy and it will handle that. June, and then you say good morning, June. Any questions up to this point? Anybody with a question? Is it PJ?
Yeah,
PJ?
Pasty.
Yeah, are we making some progress?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I hope you are not getting confused.
No, I'm okay.
Good. So now we are all going to do this here together. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to put you guys in group, okay? And then in that group, I'll give you maximum of 5 minutes to solve this problem here for me. Now, this is the problem. It is not a function, but I want you to put it in a form of a function, okay? Now, with a function, I want someone to enter this, okay? Okay, you let me describe it. 1, ask user to enter his or her name. Now 2, ask user to enter the first number. Okay. Then 3, ask user to enter the second number. Now 4, compute first number divided by second number. Okay. Now 5, display something like this. Hello, then the person's name. Okay. Then say that first number divided by, so let me put divided by second number is equal to then the result. Okay. So we are going to say compute result. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes, Pasty.
Yes.
Okay. So all I'm trying to say is that when the person comes and then you ask question 1, the person can say maybe John. Don't mind me, I like to use John for most of my examples. Let's say enter first number. John can say 2. Enter, let me use 4. Enter second number. John can say 2. Now I'm going to compute by dividing the first number by the second number. Okay, so I can do something like, okay, 4 divided by 2. Exactly. Then the result is, of course, 2, right? Then I will do something like, hello, John. Then comma, 4 divided by 2 is equal to 2. This is what I want to see on the screen. But I want you to put it in a function such that as and when I need it, I can just call the function name and I'm good to go. So I'm going to put you guys in groups. I'll set the timer to say maximum 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, every group is going to present to us what they were able to do. It doesn't matter if you're unable to finish. By the end of the day, we want to be able to understand maybe the logic behind what you were trying to do. So let me come up here and say, let me stop sharing my screen and let me keep you in. So we are 49 here. So I want to do roughly group of 5. Okay. So 5, that means we are going to, I think that's too much. Let me do 3. That means we have 3 different groups. Okay. Now for each group, I want you to compute that task. All right. So yeah. So you guys can start joining your respective groups. Hey, someone is saying that I want to be in, please, this is random, okay? So just do some small discussion. And the time is 8:46. Exactly, say, let's do 8:52, okay? 8:52, we are back. Please join your groups and start discussing. Please, those here, why are you not in any group? Hello? I see Yao, Luisa, Emanuela, and Rich.
Pasty, I'm joining with two machines, so I'm on a group.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
I'm also seeing that the host has opened breakout rooms. Please wait to be assigned.
So group 1. Can start sharing your screen. Hello?
Hello, Pasty. I'm sharing the screen. So Pasty, here's the line of code. I give my definition a function of normal function name. Then I called it in a name for the user to input this or a name here. And also the next step is number, which I assigned as my variable name. Then the person should input this or a first number. And also same for the second B. Now the number C is telling the user that number A will be divided number B. So the function should print hello, the name, then what we did to C. So we call the function, but whenever I do that, I get some errors here.
Okay, so you run it again. Okay,
Still,
so let's try and then debug this together. So you can see what is the syntax error. It's saying invalid syntax.
yeah.
It is trying to tell you that you are not obeying the rules. Okay, good. So now that you've done this, run it again and let's see what happens.
Still, yes,
Good.
except
So
perhaps into this.
So, no. You see, you've created a variable called number C. And number C is actually number A divided by number B. So in memory, the result of number A and number B are stored in number C. So you have to take everything number A divided by number B and that equal to thing. You take it out.
Oh, okay.
Leave only the number C. Remove the equal to. So all you're trying to do is that you have hello, name, and then number C. Run it. You should get in trouble. Okay. Voila. We get ourselves in trouble again. So you can see the type error. Scroll down. It's saying that can only concatenate string, not float. Do you understand that? So let's go up. All right. So instead of this, do you remember yesterday we did how to format text? Hold on, let me share my screen and show you something. you can stop sharing your screen. Let me show you something. Okay. Do you remember this thing? We did something. It was under strange. And I can't. Okay, this is it. Do you remember this one? You can use something like this. Do you see? So anything you want to display, whatever thing you want to display, you can store it and say that, okay, display is equal to maybe hello. Okay, hello. Then the name. So the variable you use for the name, you just put it in these two guys. But before you start, you have to put some small f over here. You see the quotation, put some small f outside. That means you want to format this text. So you can see that this guy here is now going to be replaced by that variable name. Then you can do comma. Then you can say that, okay, this number, do you understand? So you can now come and say that, okay, first number. Okay, then you can put division over there and say second number. Then you can put equal to it. Now remember that anything you do over here is supposed to be a variable name. So it will just pick the variable and then plug it here direct like that. Any other thing apart from what is in this braces is not a variable. So it will print it just as how it sees it. Do you understand? So you can do this, then is equal to then the result. You do this and say, okay, the result, you have a value you want to display like this, and everything should work fine for you. So you can just go ahead and say print display, and every other thing should work fine for you. All right. So you can sort yourselves out on that. So I would want the second team to show us what they did, but I think so far what you did was great. Just a few modifications and you are close to perfection. So group 2, we are ready for you.
So this is what we did.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first thing we asked for, so the name of the function is user information. Then we requested for the name. We made a name variable and we stored the input function and then enter your name in there. Then next, first number, we assign a float to it and then input function, the first number, same for the second number. And then we computed the result of the first number and second number and stored it in the variable result. Then we printed out the response, which is hello, name, your first number divided by your second number is result.
Oh, wait.
So when we run,
so if you look at the example that I gave you, the first number, I wanted you to put the number the person typed over there. So if the person entered 5, I want you to put 5, maybe divide by this, but I think this looks good. Now I want you to do another thing. Run this block of code again.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now enter any name. Now first number, enter 0. Second number, enter 10. Okay. So all we are trying to say here is first number divided by, okay, good. Run it again. I want us to start with the 10. Okay, so enter some name. Oh, you are also using June. Do you know June?
No.
Okay, first number, enter 10.
We all have June.
Oh, really? That's interesting. I'll tell her. Then second number, use 0. So do you see the issue you get yourself into?
Yeah.
It is trying to say that you can't divide a number by 0. And this is the reason why when you build some application, someone may easily break it. You have to think about every possible scenario. So you could have used some if statement in here. Do you remember? You can say if the second number is 0, exit, or maybe stop executing it. Or ask the person to enter a new number. Do you understand?
Yes.
So it means your code is running fine. However, someone can break it easily. So these are few instances where you would want to employ if. So if second number is less than or equal to 0, then do something else. Do you understand? Then it becomes interesting. All right, but so far I think you did a good job. Then the third group, you can stop sharing your screen. Third group, we are ready for you. Okay. Third group, you don't want to show up.
That Christianese group.
Oh, okay. Christy?
My group is group 2. We just completed though.
Oh, so he's just trying to attack you. Don't mind him. Okay, so group 3, we are ready for you.
Okay. Well, it's basically the same things that the previous guys have said. It is for the second number. And then we are using the print to just print out the display straight out.
Okay, run it. We want to see.
When we run. So this is group.
Please use June. We beg you. Okay, you continue. But in our next example, you use June. Because June is important, you know.
Sure. 25. Next one, 5.
Yeah, hello, group this. This divide by that is 5. I think this looks also great. But of course, you know, if you try division 0, you get yourself in trouble. Okay, so thank you very much, guys. You can stop sharing your screen, so we'll continue.
But problem as you said, so we must introduce the case. Yeah. Hello?
Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think you guys did wonderfully well. Now, the last thing I would want you to understand about functions is that, you see, all this while, when you are done, you just display the result on your screen like that. Now, there are instances where you wouldn't want to display the result on your screen. You may want to get the result back after the computation. When you get the results, you want to use it for something else. And in that case, we use something we call return statement. Okay, so this one. So look at this. We want to define a function to add 2 numbers for us. But look at what's going to happen. Let's say we have some number here, original number. Okay, original number. Now we want to put that number to 10. Okay, now I want to define a function. Add 2 numbers. Of course, we know that we can now accept 2 numbers, x and y. Okay, now I want to do print x plus y. Now what I wanted to do was that whatever, after this guy is done with the computation, I want to add the result to the original number. That means I'm going to increase the result by 10. Does that make sense? So for example, if someone do something like add 2 numbers and the person enters 1 and then 2. Now the result is what? 3. I want to add the original number to it so that 3 plus 10, I can get 13. Do you understand that? Hello?
Yeah.
Hi, yeah, we understand.
You understand? Okay. So with this one, do you think if I do something like result is equal to this, then I say that, okay, print result plus original number, do you think this is going to work? Because we all know that when we add these 2 numbers, 1 and 2, we'll get 3, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, then we are saying that 3 plus original number. All we are interested in is 3 plus original number 10. And so therefore we should get something like 13. Do you think this is going to work? Just speak with confidence.
No.
Why is it not going to work?
So I think before it's going to work, you need to create a function, right? And when you call it and pass the parameters, then it's going to work.
Okay, so let's check this one. Someone is saying that it's not going to work. So let's give it a shot. Oh, it blows up. This is interesting. So the reason why it blows up is this. We just said, when you are done with this computation, just print it to the screen. I don't need it for any other thing again in this world. Does it make sense? We don't need it for any other thing again. But assuming after this result, I want to grab whatever thing the result was and use it somewhere else. I wouldn't say print. I would use a keyword called return. That means when you're done computing this one here, bring the result back to me. Now, at this point, this guy is not going to print anything to the screen. This guy. He's only going to return a number back. And I'm trying to store that number in results. So if I put results here and then original, this is supposed to work, isn't it? So do you see? It's now giving me 13. But if I put print here, it's not going to work. And that is the rationale behind the return. So you can see so far, our functions do not return values that are reusable. We can use the return keyword to achieve that. Do you understand? Okay. So once we use the return, we can say that, you see, when you do add two numbers, this and this, it will not display anything on the screen because you simply didn't ask it to print something on the screen. Look at this. Let me say I'm interested in this thing. Of course, I've called my function, so it should work. Okay, but this is displaying because, we are in Jupyter. Otherwise, I'm not supposed to see any results. So the guy using Spider, if you try this, you not get any results. But it's giving us this result because we are in Jupyter, of course. Okay, so once we do that, so you can see I even tried this code in W3 schools and it couldn't give me any result. So I had to print it out. So this is it. If I do add two numbers, x plus y, I can assign the results or the result after the computation to another variable and use it anywhere else across my code base. Now, any question? This is everything you need to know about functions for now. I don't know if anybody has got questions, so we address it before we move on. So I'm going to call this procedural. Then I'll call this basic function. Then I'll come here and call this function with argument. And I'll come here to say calling functions. I'll come here to say updated functions. I'll come here to say functions with return keyword. So this is it. Can decide to take this one out and this one out. And if I put 12 here and run this, I'm getting 14. It's going to return this value to me. And I can use the value anywhere across my code. Any questions? Any questions? Monka say, are you guys confused?
Please go over for me. The last
I should
part.
go over
the last part.
This one?
Yes, please.
Okay. So let's say after doing some computation, like computing someone's CWA, you want to grab that CWA and then save it somewhere else, or you want to use it for something different. You don't just want to display it on the screen and that's the end of it. Now, in that case, when you are done with the computations, you would want to return the result of that computation and then use it somewhere else. So, for example, if I have this function that adds two numbers, I can say that result is this. Now, I can use this result elsewhere. For example, I can come and say, what is 1 plus result? And it's giving me 4. Now, what is in result? Let me run this guy again. Result happens to be, let me print result. Result happens to be 14. So I'm just saying that 1 plus the result, 15. But if I don't do this, and I decide to say, okay, print, it means that when you are done with the computation, I don't need the result for anything. Just push it to the screen. That's all I care about. So look at this. It gives me 14, all right. But if I come here to say, what is 1 plus the result, which is supposed to be 14, it blows up saying that it doesn't know what result is because we did not return anything. So we can achieve that by saying that I want to return this value. Then after returning it, I would want to use it. Oh, I typed something different. Okay. Then after returning it, I want to use it elsewhere. Okay. So that is what this guy here does. So in your time, Biana, you would want to print the thing on the screen. No. Sometimes after the computation, you may want to use it for something else. A typical example is this. Let's define a function that sum two numbers. Or can we get this? Let's say we have a function that say x is maybe the first number 1, and let's say divide by number 2, and let's say minus number 3, this one. But n1 is made up of this set of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have n2 made up of 4, 5, 6. And then n3 is made up of 8, 9, 10. 8, where is my comma? 9, and then 10. Now, what this guy is trying to tell you is that put all of these guys together. Put these guys together and put these guys together. When you are done, the result for this, put it here and divide it by the result of this, and then subtract this one from it. Is this assignment clear?
Yes, Pasty.
Okay, good. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start
Pasty,
by defining, yeah.
Wait, if you say put it together, is it summing or multiplying or?
No, so we are going to sum all of these numbers here. And the result is called N1.
Got you.
We'll sum all of these numbers. The result is N2. We'll sum these numbers. The result is N3. When we are done, we pick N2, put it here, divide by... Yeah, come in.
Yeah, you see N2, you put it in parentheses like the normal
Oh, no,
bracket.
just... No, it's
and
not
then
necessary.
the
I was
rest
just
are in curly
citing...
brackets.
I was just citing an example.
Oh, okay.
It's not really necessary, yeah. Okay. So this is what I'm going to do. Let me define... In fact, let me take one out so that we can have just 3 of them. Let's say I want to define... in fact, let's use this same function for it. So let me add the next item, which is z. So I'm going to do this plus z. Does this one here make sense? So let me change this one to add numbers. Will this one here make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So I can now say that my n1 is equal to add numbers. Then I'll put 1, 2, 3 in here. Now what is going to happen to N2? N2 is add numbers. Like this. And then what is N3? N3 is add numbers. Like this. Now what I want to do is to put what is N1 divided by N2 minus N3. But assuming I didn't put return here, I just did something like print. Like this. It means, fine, compute everything and then print the result on the screen. So let me comment this one. And what is happening? It says add numbers is not defined. Okay, let me run this before. Okay, good. You see, it computes N1 and then print this one on the screen. Compute N2, print 15 on the screen, and then N3, this on the screen. So of course, I know that my N1 is 6. What is 6 divided by N2? 15 minus N3, 27. Now let's run this. Now it blows up, saying that it doesn't understand what we are trying to do. GC. So what we're going to do here is that I'll say that, hey, when you are done computing it, return it because I want to use it somewhere else. So it is done computing this one. It will return the result 6. So now in the variable or the memory space, N1 is 6. It will compute this one and say N2 is 15. It will compute this and say N3 is 27. Now let me grab everything here off, run everything here again, and say that, okay, I'm going to use it somewhere else. So I'll do this, okay? But of course, I need to print it. So let me put X here. Now look at it, it is giving me the result negative 26.6. But that was different for the case of print. The print was throwing an error. I don't know if this answers your question. Hello? Oh, so the person who asked the question will not respond. Okay, let's move on to the next item. So we didn't talk about loop. So this is it. Am I off? Okay, I'm still on.
No, Pasty, you're not.
Pasty.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we didn't do this. We just skipped to functions and then completed it. Let's see if we can finish the loops as quick as possible. Now, loop is nothing but trying to handle repetitions. Okay. If you want to do something in repetitions, we can use a loop to handle that. So in Python, we have two basic ones called the for loop and then the while loop. Now let's get into it. Now this is the for loop. We usually use the for loop when we have a fair idea of where we are going to end. That is where we mostly use it. Now in the while loop, we use it when we don't have any idea where we are going to end. So think about it like this. If you are developing maybe a system like a chatting application, you may want to use the while loop to display messages because you don't know when people are going to stop sending messages. So you are going to say that while there is a new message, display it. And that if there is no new message, you don't do anything, okay? So in the case of the for loop, we are saying that we first enter the loop, then we check if this condition here is false, and then we are going to get into the body. Then if it is true, we are getting to the latter part of it. So let's look at this one. For this variable, okay, this is more like the signature for loop. For examples are going to help. So let me take this guy here out and create a new file and call this guy here, rename loops. Okay, so let me put introduction to loops. This is of course not a code. And in fact, let me say I have this item called we are going to talk about the for loop. Then when we are done, oh, I think it's supposed to be like this. Yeah, normal is some. I've forgotten how. Mark down now. Invalid syntax for this. Then we are also going to do for while loop. Okay, these are the two things we are going to be talking about. So we are going to pick the for loop. So this is a code. All right. So the for loop, we start by saying that for a variable name, okay, it's going to assume a particular state. Then we use the in. Then the list of items or the items. Now we want to handle these guys here. So let's look at this. Imagine you have list of items called fruits. Okay. So remember yesterday we said this is a list. So we have banana. Let's put mango here. And let's put orange here. Now you want to display each one of them on the screen. How do you do it? Now there is a way we can use the for loop to do that. Now you can see that over here, I use the plural term because we have several fruits in here. So I can start by saying that I'm going to create a placeholder called fruits in fruits. That means for every single one of these, I want to do something with it. What do I want to do? I want to print that fruit on the screen. I can as well put X here and then say X here. Anything at all you want, you can do. So for X in fruits, keep printing it. Okay, so it will say that, okay, what is the first item? Banana. So do we have banana in the fruit? It will say yes. So it will come and then print this item. Now when it's done, it will say, are we done exhausting all of the items here? It says no. It will grab the next item and that item is going to be named variable X. So it will print mango. It will now come here and say, hey, do we have another product? Yes, orange. So for orange in fruit, we are going to print it. So if I run this code, you can see I have banana, mango, and orange. Now let me ask this simple question. Can someone do this? 1, 2, 3. I want you to look through these items and then display them like this. 1, then the name of the fruit. 2, this. How can we handle that from here? Anybody with an idea? Any idea? Hello? Okay. So let me change this name to fruit and change this one here also to fruit. So to handle this, I'm going to set an integer number that is going to be appended to this one. So I'm going to say my number, or let's say I, is equal to 1. Then for each one of them, I'll say print I, like that. Then let me use this guy and say I want to put dot here so that it can say 1 dot this. But if I run this, look at what happens. You put 1 dot this, another 1 dot this. So the key here is that right after this, I'll need to update the value of I by saying that, hey, pick I and then increase it by 1. So it will run through this and say 1 banana. Then it will say, what should I do with I? Increase I by 1. So now the value of I is 2. So it will now say 2 dot this. It will increase this one here 2 by 1 and say 3 dot that. So you can see we have these items here. All right. Kindly hold on. Okay. So this is the concept of the loops or the for loop. So I have some examples here for you. Okay. So we can decide to say that for X in this set of items, we want to do something with it. Forget about the past. So I actually want to say something.
Yeah, so I wanted to find out that why didn't you use for S in fruits when you were adding the integers, but you use for fruits in fruits?
Okay, so I could easily use X. Like I said, you can put anything you want over here. It's a variable name. So if you look at the signature, you realize that I have variable. Okay, so this is a variable name. So you can put anything at all you want over there. So, but it should be like readable, because I think for each one of them is a fruit, and that's the reason why I use the singular form of fruit. But if you want to use X, you are free to do that. It'll work fine. Does that answer your question?
All right, yeah.
Okay, sure. So yes, you can see that we have this one also here. We have fruits, banana, apple, cherry, and just the exact same thing as we just did. And we can also loop through a word, okay? So for example, if I have for, say, I in maybe a string called banana, what I want to do is to print I. And this is what's going to happen. It's going to loop through all of these items and then print them on the screen. Now in for loop, we have these two guys called break and then continue. They are very interesting. I'm just going to say it. I may not write codes on it, but the break is like when I get to some condition, I want to stop executing the code. Now, remember over here, we had 1, 2, 3 fruits. And so it was able to display 1, 2, 3 fruits. Look at the banana. We have about 6 of them, and it was able to display all 6 of them. Now, in case what I want to achieve is to eliminate something, for example, the mango, I can use the break statement for it. So let me grab everything here and say that, hey, of course, I want you to print this. However, if you get to a condition where X, so please, to avoid the confusion, let me use fruit. Okay. Let me put the fruit here. So we are going to say that if the current fruit is the same as mango, I want you to break. Do you understand? So the normal thing we are going to do is that, well, just go through each of the fruits and then print them. So 1, you print, 2, you print, 3, you print. But if you get to some fruit which is coming in and the name of the fruit is mango, stop. Don't continue. Just stop this loop. So let's run this code here and see. So you can see we have 1 banana. So it didn't even continue with this. It got to this condition, it stopped. It got here, it stopped. If we want to display the name of the fruit before we break it, I would have just copied this guy here and then say, okay, display it. When you are done displaying it, now come and check the condition. So let me run this one here. Also, you can now see that I have banana. So it will do the banana first. It will say, is the fruit called mango? It will say, no, it's banana. So it will come again and then check the second one. It will say, print mango. Is the fruit mango? It says, yes. Stop. Don't continue with the loop. Then it ends it. Now we have another one called continue. So this is more like breaking or exiting loops. We have another one for skipping. Okay, more like I want to skip something. So look at this. In the case of the break, we didn't continue at all. Okay, so it was just mango, banana, and mango. It ended. Now let's say I want to replace this one here with continue. But with the continue, let me take this guy out. Then that means I'm going to check the condition first before I print. Now, all I'm trying to say here is that when you go through this, print whatever fruit you have at the moment. So it will print banana. It will come and check, oh, is the current fruit the same as mango? This will say, yes, it's the same. Then this guy will say, hey, I beg, don't print it. Just skip. Okay, just skip it and then move to the next item. So let's see what happens here. So you can see that we have banana, which is here. You go to mango and this guy said, hey, skip it. Don't go to mango. Now jump to orange. So that is the whole concept of the break and continue over here. So you can see I have some examples over here with some explanation here for you guys. So this is the continue. Okay, this is nested loop. So if you have two items and then you want to print it like this, it is just the same as the for loop we are doing. So it's nothing new. All right. Then we have the while loop. The while loop works just like the for loop. Okay, it's very simple, straightforward also. But if you don't pay attention to it, you get yourself into something we call infinite loop. So let's use this thing here as an example. So let's get to the while loop. Now let's say I have a certain number and the number is say 10. Now I want to print all numbers from 1 to 10. That's all I want to do. So I'm going to say something like the while keyword. Now if you look at this one critically, you will see the condition saying that while this condition is true, keep doing this. So long as this condition here is true, we'll keep doing this. But if the condition is false, we end. So look here, we test the condition. If the condition is true, we run the body of the loop. Then we come back and test the condition again. If it is true, so we'll keep doing this. But if the condition is false, we end. We terminate the code. So a typical example is this. While the number is, let's say, less than 100, what do we want to do? We want to print that number. Now, what do you think is going to happen if I run this? Anybody with an idea?
So keep on running. Let's stop.
Yeah, so it's going to run and it will never end because it will say, okay, what is this? 10. Is 10 less than 100? Yes, print. It will come back. What is the number? 10. Is 10 less than 100? Yes. So it will always be true. So it will keep running this. So the best way we can do this is to track the indicator. When we start to track it, now we can get to a condition where this is false, then we end. So for example, we are going to do something like, oh, pick the number, increase it by 1. Now, all we are trying to say is that, what is this? 10. Is 10 less than 100? Yes. Print it. So when it's done printed, what should I do again? Pick 10, add 1 to it. So it is now 11. Is 11 less than 100? It will say yes. It will keep doing it till we get to 100. Is 100 less than 100? It will say no. It will stop. It won't even get here again. So let's see what happens here. And it keeps printing up to 99. And of course, if you want to include the 100, we will say, is it less than or equal to 100? And this one is going to get us to 100. Now, we can use the break in this one. We can also use the skip in this one or the continue in this one. Any question? So let me change this one here to 15 so that we can have something very short. Any questions on that? Otherwise, we are through with the while loop also.
Pasty, please, when we're doing the for loop, you named the continue. I think the name that you put there, I think you made a mistake in the name.
Okay, so which one? This one?
You made it continue or exiting loops.
I'm not continue. Oh, okay. Like that.
Yes.
Skipping maybe items.
Yes.
Okay, good. That's nice. Thank you. Okay. So this is the business you need to know about loops also. Yeah, so it's something very simple. So from here, then we have the functions. After functions, we get to object-oriented programming, which is also very easy and then simple to understand. It's very simple. In fact, the last one is the simplest, the module. So let's see. At what time are we going for the break?
10.
10 o'clock or 10:30?
10.
10 o'clock. Yeah.
We usually go at 10. So.
Is this something that we can just finish it and then that's it?
Yeah, of course we can finish, but I can't keep you here when your time is up. Unless you guys say let's continue.
So I'm suggesting that since we have only few things to cover, we can just cover it so that we can just break and then come in after. That's my suggestion.
So you think we should break now, and then when we come back, we start the object-oriented, or we should complete the slide, then the next thing you'll be doing is meeting Senana? I don't understand what you think.
I'm for the second option.
Oh, that is between yourself and your mate. Once they agree, I don't have any problem.
Yeah. So you have two more topics, right?
Yeah.
The OOP and then the modules, right?
Yes.
Yes. So guys, that's what I'm saying.
Actually, my concern is will we be able to finish before the time? Because if let's say it exceeds the time limit we think and gets into 12:30, then what then happens? That means they have a break.
So you don't worry. You let's proceed. When we get there, we'll cross. We'll know what to do. Okay. So what is the concept of object-oriented programming? In object-oriented programming, we think about classes and then objects. Now, every single thing you see around us is an object. And that object is coming from a blueprint called a class. So when you pick a human being is an object coming from, or let me use specifics. Kwame is a human being coming from a class called human. It means all of the properties and the functions of a human, Kwame should be able to do it. So on the normal, if humans, according to the blueprint, can talk, then Kwame should be able to talk. Does that make sense? Like all things being equal. Of course, I know someone is going to raise the argument of someone is blind and ABC. But all things being equal, we are holding other factors constant. If you pick a car, on a normal, the very basic car should have maybe 4 tires or something. It means every car, say Toyota, should have 4 cars. So according to the blueprint or the class, Toyota should have 4 tires. And so therefore, when we create an object called Toyota Corolla, Toyota Camry, they should have 4 tires. Okay. Now, if you have an object like banana, mango, this, we can put them or we can separate them as objects coming from a bigger class or a blueprint called fruit. It means every fruit has got a color. So you know banana has got a color, mango too has got a color. Every fruit has got its taste. Some may be sour, some may be sweet. Okay. Now, all I'm trying to say is that we have to think about everything around us in terms of objects and then classes. And then the object is what we get out of the class. Okay. Look at this. It is very simple to define the blueprint. And out of the blueprint, we define the object. So we'll do that by using the class keyword. You remember when we're doing function? In fact, this we have here is a function. Do you see? This is how we define functions. And we are going to define functions in classes. So classes is nothing but bunch of functions. We put it together. We add something we call properties. But the way we assess the methods is a bit different from the way we assess the normal functions. You see, the normal function, you just call the name, the parentheses, and you're good. But this time around, we'll call it with the class name and then the function. Okay. All right. So it's as simple as doing this one. Define a class, give the class a name. Okay. Then you are good to assign properties to it and then methods to it. Now, I think this thing here may be a bit confusing. So let me take you through the practical session. I think that will make a lot of sense to you guys. So let me put OOP here and change this guy here to my markdown and say, if I want to define a class, I'll just have to use the keyword class. What class am I going to define? Maybe fruit. Then I'm good. If I want to define another class, I may define that class and say, hey, I need a class called vehicle. Then let me put pass. I can also define another class, say, hey, I have something called class, and this class is a set of, let me put any idea, human. So let me put pass here. Now, what we've done here is we've been able to create a whole class. And this is a blueprint for fruits, blueprint for vehicles, blueprint for human. And so we are, we now understand the basics of object-oriented programming. At best, we've been able to define a class called fruit. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Any questions? Should I proceed?
Pastor, please, can you go over again, like what you just did?
This one. The only thing I did was to write a class, the name of the class, and then pass. That's all. So this is one class, fruit. There's a whole new class, vehicle. So let me take it out. Let me take this one out. So this is the only thing I did. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so this is what I call class. There is another guy called object. Now, you remember I was trying to strike a difference between classes and objects. And I said, if you think about Kwame, Kwame is an object coming from the human class. That means if I want to, for example, if God wants to create a new human being, he wouldn't have to think about how am I going to create this human being? Should I give that human being a skin color, teeth, or something? No. God has already created the blueprint. So the blueprint is there. So if he wants to create a new human being, say, hey, I want to create a new human being. That human being should have a teeth, legs, hands, eyes, ABC. Do you understand? So let's say I want to create a new human being. Okay. And that human being is going to be called Kofi. So I'll say Kofi is human, like this. I'm done. So this is my class, and this is my object. So this one here is my class, and this is my object. Any questions up to this point? Is this difficult to do? Abi, of course, you can also create your own class called class fruit. Then you put some pass here. Then you come down here and say that, oh, you need mango. Okay, so mango is a fruit, like this. That's all. You can create another one and say maybe orange is also a fruit, like that. You can also create another one here, say yao is also human. Does this thing here make sense?
It does.
Okay, so we have a class for human. Out of this class, we are going to create a lot of human beings. A class called fruit. Out of this fruit, we are going to create a lot of fruits. Okay, good. Now we are going to modify this class. Okay, all right. So let me remove the pass. The pass is more like don't do anything and then don't blow up. That's all. So I'm going to take this one out. I will now add something to this. I will say, okay, every human being, assuming you are God and you want to create a human being, you will say that, okay, every human being should have a name, right? Every human being should have height. Every human being should have a gender. So how do we do that? We can simply say that, okay, for this human being, I want to give it a gender and say male. I want to create another one called maybe height. And I'll put 12 inches over there. Then I want to create a new property. Any other property about human beings? Skin color, right? So let me use black. So let's run this and see. Of course, it didn't blow up. Now, it means that Kofi should have a gender. Kofi should have height, and then Kofi should have a skin color. That is the meaning of this. Now, Yao should also have gender, height, and then skin color. So, if I want to get the gender of Kofi, how do I call this guy? Because I know the value is this. Now, you remember when we're doing variables, we just did something like x is equal to 12. And if you want to get the value of x, you just do x, and then 12 shows up. This time around, gender being the variable finds itself in a container called human. So if you want to access gender, you have to access it through the human class. So you know that Kofi is human. So I can simply say, okay, I need Kofi's gender, right? So to access anything in the body of this class, we use a dot. Kofi dot gender, like this. Let me run this, but let me take Yao out. For now, let's handle Kofi. See, we have male. So let me try to access Kofi's height. Kofi dot height. We have 12. Then let's say Kofi dot skin color. Then we have black. Is this thing here difficult to do?
No.
We can do the same thing for fruits. Every fruit should have a name. So let's say banana. Every fruit should have a color.
Flavor.
Let's say banana is, come again, yellow, right? Good. So I can just say that, okay, I've created a fruit called mango. So I'll say mango dot what? If I want to access the name, what do I do? Mango dot name, right?
Dot name.
Now it's telling me that the mango is called banana. Then let's do mango dot color. It's telling me that the mango is yellow. So do you understand where we are getting towards?
Yes, Pasty.
Okay, good. So can you see that there is a problem with this? Can you see a problem with it?
Pasty, you see when you were defining for mango, it still gives you the laid out characteristics for the entire class of fruits.
Yes. But do you see any problem with it? We just said we wanted to create a mango, but the mango has already got a name called banana. And the mango already has a color called yellow. What if the mango is not yellow? Is mango called banana? Of course, no. Let's look at this. I just created a human called Kofi. And the Kofi's gender is male by default. What about if I want to create a human called Ama? So let me leave Kofi alone. Then let me add a new block and say, okay, I want to create Ama. Ama is also a human being. So I want to say Ama.gender. Look at this. Ama is also a male. So what problem do you see with this?
They all have same characteristics.
Exactly. But is it possible that we can change them? So let's try this and see. We are saying that we want to, okay. Yeah, come in.
I think we can assign the attributes directly to the objects inside the classes.
Okay. We can, of course, do it, but we'll get to that. I think you are moving a bit faster. Okay, so let's say I want to grab Kofi.gender, but I want to assign the gender to male. Let's see if I call Kofi.gender this time around. let's look at what happens. It gives me male, right? All I did was to grab Ahmed's gender and I said, hey, I want to change Ahmed's gender to something. I want to assign it to female. So now, what is the value of the gender? You see female, right? Is this difficult?
No.
Okay. So we are
Yes.
quickly going to modify our code. Okay, we are going to modify our code such that we will not be doing these things because it's annoying. It's very annoying to do. So let's do this. I'm going to take all of these guys out. Or should I create a new? Okay, let me take this one out. Let me take the fruit also out. Let's handle the human being. Let's say I want to create a new class called human. Human, let me use 2. Okay, then I'm going to say that, okay, this time around, I don't want to hard code all of these things in there. I want to do this through functions. Do you remember the function where we needed to create functions to handle a few tasks for us? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And then how did we do that? We did that by saying define, right? So let me say define set name. So every human being has got a gender. So set gender like this. They will do something. So let me do pass. I'm going to say define set height. Then I'll do pass. And I'm also going to say define set skin color. You can call it anything you want. Then let me do pass. Now let me run this one and then see what's going to happen. Let's create a new human called Amma. Okay, Amma is new. Human. Good. So let's try and then access Amma's gender. All we are trying to do is to set Amma's gender to something. So let me do Amma dot set underscore gender. See that this one has got this, and that's why we have to do this. It blows up. Set gender. Okay, good. So he's saying that this guy here doesn't have anything called, this is human 1. Oh, no, this, good. Now look at the error message. Set gender takes 0 positional argument, but 1 was given. Now all we need to do is that in Python is a bit different from other programming languages. Whenever you try to create a function or a method, by default, you have to pass some argument to it. Now, this argument you are going to pass is the name of the class. Okay, it's the name of the class. But generally, people used to put self over there instead of the name of the class, self. That is, it is trying to point to the class itself. Okay, self. So when you see a lot of Python, let me use Python classes, then you find a lot of things. For example, let me use this one. Voila, look at this one. You see self injected over here. But we could simply do, let me run this code. You see it is running fine. But let me put person. I'm going to change the name from this to person. Let me run this. Oh, what is that? Oh, okay. So I'm trying to use self to access it. Let me use person to access all of these items. Let me run. And of course, it runs fine. So basically, you can use anything at all you want. You can use X, anything you want. But when you're looking at other people's code or documentation, they keep using self to represent the class itself. And that's the reason why in our case, we'll be injecting self. Do we all agree on using self?
Yes, Pasty.
Okay, that's fine. So let's run this guy here again. What is it saying? The human 1 sets gender, accept, or takes 0 positional argument, but did I do something wrong? Is that not the same as ama.setGender? I don't know why it's failing, but anyways, let's try and then set the gender and then see. If it fails, I'll have to investigate to see why this guy here. Yeah, come again.
It could be because of the past.
You're saying it's because of the past? Well, probably. We just have to try and then check it. Because all I know is the past is saying that don't do anything. Okay. So, for example, if I do this and then decide to run this block of code, you see, it is saying that unexpected something because there is an issue. But when we have the past in here, it doesn't generate that issue for us. Okay. But anyways, let's say we want to set the gender. So we are going to put the person's gender here. Then, you see, in the first one, we're doing this. We could simply do something like this, put the gender up here, and set that, oh, you see this gender here? I want to access this gender within this class. So I'll do self.gender. So this self.gender is referring to this. Now I want to set it to the gender that the person is bringing in, which is this one called gender. This may seem a bit confusing. I don't know why the set gender keeps giving me this one, but we'll figure it out very soon as we move forward. Okay. So we can say self.gender. This self.gender is referring to this, and this gender is referring to this one. So for example, I can decide to change this name and say G, and say self.gender is G. Okay. Now sometimes you can decide to use gender like this. Take this guy here out completely and say self.gender is equal to gender. It means at this point, it is trying to create the property for us, gender. Okay. Now we can also set height here and say that, oh, I need self.height. So it's similar to we trying to set gender up here, height up here. So we just want to do it once. Then we are going to pass self.skin color to, let me do skin color. And of course, my height is going to blow up. Good. So if I run this and that, I'm still getting set gender missing one position. Does anybody know what's happening here? I don't know if it's because we have all of these guys in there. So let me comment all of these lines and then put pass here. Now let me take all of these guys. I don't really know why this is giving me these issues. Let me do something new. New human. Let me grab the name of new human here and say that ama is new human. So ama.setGender. Okay. Now we now have set gender. We are saying that, remember, this is by default, so we don't need to worry about it. But we are passing some gender to it. So let's grab ama's gender and say female. Now this female here doesn't represent the self. It represents this one. So this is working fine. Now let's say I want to now access the value of gender. Similar to what we had here, where we had the gender here, we're accessing it. We can as well access it like that to say, I want to see ama's gender, because see the name, gender. And we have female. Okay. We can also set ama's height, set height like that, and say ama is maybe 13. So I can now access ama.height. Let me see. I don't know.
The spelling of
set height.
The spelling of set height.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, good. So I now have height 13. So all I tried to do was to modify this code. Instead of me putting gender here, here, before I start using them, I've eliminated it totally, and I'm now using it in the body of the method. okay, or the function. Now, because I've created it over here, it is the same as me putting gender here, like this, and say this is now, or maybe empty. It's just the same thing, like height is equal to empty, like skin color is equal to empty, like this. You can choose to do this, and every other thing should work fine, because this gender is with respect to this. This height, you are referring to this. This skin color, respect to this. But immediately you do this, Python automatically creates that for you. You don't need to worry about all of these plenty codes. Then you are good to go. Any questions up to this point? Of course, we can create a new object. Kofi. Kofi is new human. Okay, then we can say Kofi dot. If I call Kofi dot gender, look at what happens. New human has no attribute gender. That's because we haven't got here yet. You see, we can only create this guy only when we have set the gender, because this code is not outside, it is within this block. And until we call this function, this guy will never be executed. Okay, so let's say we want to set gender to say Kofi is male. Now, if I now need Kofi.gender, you can see Kofi is male and then Ama is female. So I can do this. Kofi.gender, I want to print it. Print Kofi's gender. Then I'll do something like print Ama.gender. And if I do this, you see male and then female. Okay. Now, do you think it's even possible that we modify this code and then make it better? Instead of we doing set gender, set height, all of these plenty things. Wouldn't it be so interesting? Immediately we do Kofi is equal to new human. We can say that, hey, Kofi is a male and his height is 23. Wouldn't this be interesting? So that we can simply say Kofi dot gender like this. Instead of we come to do set this gender, set this height before we come and do this and that. Wouldn't this be better?
Yeah, that would be proper.
This will be proper. So let me take this guy here out totally. Now I'm going to modify our human class. So we are going to say class newest human. Okay. So what is the newest human? We are going to talk about something we call constructors. Okay. So look at this. So this is exactly what I've been trying to do. Okay. So we can do all of these things. Now, this is the class instantiation. Okay, so you can go through this one to understand what. So we could decide to eliminate this code totally. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Good. We have something we call class constructors. Now, with the class constructors, it's as simple as saying that, hey, immediately I create the human. For example, Kwame is equal to newest human. I want to be able to set the name of Kwame to say that this guy is called Kwame. And this guy's gender is male. And he is maybe 23.5 inches tall. I want to be able to do this. Instead of say that, okay, Kwame dot maybe set name. It's very annoying to do. Okay. Now, in order to achieve this little thing, we have to define a special function. And the name of the function is init. It is the short for initialize. That means when you are instantiating this class, initialize it with it. So let's say you put 2 underscores, 2 of them, this one and this one. Okay, so you just put them together. For init, put 2 over there. And voila, we are good to go. So we can now set the name to it. So we can say self.name is equal to the name we are going to bring. Now we can do self.gender is equal to the gender that is coming in. Can do self.height is supposed to be the height that is coming in. Now remember, we said for every single function you create, you have to inject self, and that's what we use over here. So let me inject self. Good. The next thing we are going to do is we want to be able to put the name first. So let me put name here. We want to be able to put the gender second, which happens to be this. Then to be able to put the height third, which happens to be that. And we are good. So let me grab all of these codes, run this, and we didn't get ourselves in trouble. Let me run this, and we also didn't get in trouble. Now let's see. If I call Kwame.name, voila, it gives me Kwame. If I call Kwame.gender, it gives me male. So this is the exact same thing as what we have here. But over here, see, this one was, okay, Christy.
Please,
Yeah, Christy, come in. Come again.
Please, can you comment it for us?
I should comment.
Yeah, indicate the question.
Okay, that's fine. So for now, let me uncomment all of these lines. So this is the very basic class. Basic class definition. Okay, then this is object instantiation. Okay, I'm trying to create an object out of that class like that. So if I run this and run this, it should work fine. So over here, we got the gender up here, and then we'll try to access it. Or if we were creating a different name like Ama, and Ama, we may want to set the gender to female, as simple as that. Okay. Now, the version 1.2 of this class, we decided to change this, remove all of this boring stuff, and then convert them to methods. Okay. So this is class with methods. Okay. With all of this commenting you are talking about, I have all of them here. Do you see? So if you read the slides, you should get all of the comments here. All right. Okay. Good. So class with methods. So we define this class. It has a method called set gender. It tries to set the gender of that human being. It sets the height of that human being and sets the skin color of that human being. Okay. So let me put this comment here and say that self is a required and default argument. It can be anything. But remember, anything you use over here should run through this. You can't use like Newman here and call self here. They will run this and everything seems okay. Now we come back to say that a class with constructor. Now with the constructor doesn't need your permission to run this block of code. Immediately you create the class, it will run it. Okay. Now let me prove that to you. Let me create a class, a simple class here. Class fruit. And let me create a constructor. Let me put self. Let me say print hello fruit. You see, in normal sense, until you call the method will not run. Do you agree to that?
Yes, Pasty.
Good. But look at this one. You see, I'm not going to call the method init. Okay. Now let me even create another one. Define, let's say eat. Let me pass self to it and say print. I am eating fruit. Okay, look at this. Immediately I create an object out of this. Say mango. Mango is equal to fruit, right? Like this. Look at what happens. It just say hello fruit. It came here to run this guy. It didn't ask permission to run this, but look at it. It didn't run. It will only run when you call it. So you can say mango.it. That is why it's calling this guy. So that is the constructor for you. It doesn't need your permission to run it. Once you do this, if you fail to pass this one too, it will throw an error. It will say that it needs 3 things, but you entered just 2 of them. So immediately you do this, by default, it will set these guys. It will set them. So this guy here is available to use. Remember this one until we called. If I take this one out, look at this. That means I haven't executed the set gender. I haven't executed this. So the class doesn't know anything called property gender. If I try to call gender, it blows up because it didn't execute that. But when I call this one and this one, now that I've executed this, the class knows this and knows this. So you can see this is happening. But over here, we didn't execute, we just created an instance of it and everything is running fine like that. Okay. So this is what you need to know about classes for the data science class. So as we keep building classes for our models, you will come to realize new things that are going to come up. So that is that for this. This is a human that can walk and talk. This is a human where we set the name as a constructor. Okay. And then we have this guy here. So we try to put everything together as a case study. We try to create a calculator. A calculator instantiates X and Y. So immediately you do calculator, you have to put X and Y there. So you place this and that. If you want to add, it says that pick self.x, it's going to grab X, plus self.y or grab Y, and then sum them up. So if you do this, it's going to call this. If you do divide, it's going to do that. If you do subtract, it's going to do this for us. Are any questions up to this point? Any questions? With the modules, we should use about 10 minutes to finish the modules. Then we are done for the day. So would you want to go for the break? Then when we are back, we do modules, or we'll continue?
Let's continue.
Let's continue.
Let's continue.
Okay. But does anybody have a question or confusion about the classes we just did?
The
Okay.
classes was pretty confusing, but I think when we go through
Yes.
it will be okay.
Okay, that's fine. But when you go through and you face any challenge, you can update us on the platform. I'll try and then respond to that.
Okay.
Okay. So now we are coming to modules. Now modules is so interesting, and it's about, look at this one. You see, we have this guy here. We have all of these codes here, sitting here. I can't use these codes over here. Oh, let me rename this guy to OOP. We can't use any of the codes here, over here. If you want to use the codes over here, you have to copy from here, come here, and then paste before you run. What modules does is, it allows you to write codes over here. You open another file and then call that code you wrote over here in this one. So you don't have to repeat yourself. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, but
okay. So that one, when you're doing it with Jupyter, it can be a bit confusing. So I would want to switch to Spider, okay, quickly. So let me close this one. Let me close the kernel and launch Spider. Okay. So let me close everything here, everything here, everything here, and let me see. Okay. So we are going to look at how best we can handle modules. Now, to do that, we are going to create 2 different things. What is this? Okay, this is an old code. Let's ignore this one. Now I'm going to create two different files, just like what we had. So let me go ahead and say, I want to create a new file. No, I want to create a new file, okay, like this. You see this file? I'm going to name this file here. I'm going to put it in my downloads, okay? You can put it on your desktop if you want, anywhere you want to put it. Let me even keep it in my desktop. Now I'll say, I want to call this class mathematics. This file, sorry, mathematics.py. Now, py is the extension for Python. If you look at C#, you have to do .cs, html.html. If it's a Word document, .docx. In Python, it is .py. So let me save this. So I have mathematics. Let me create another file. I want to keep them in the same directory. Okay, let me do this use.py like that. So I have two classes. Two files. This thing, let me take it down here a bit. Let me get here and find those two files for you. This is mathematics and this is use. They are two different files. Okay. Now, if I open Spider and I say that, okay, in my mathematics, I hope by now you can all define, how do you call it? Functions, right?
Yes.
So can you help me define a function that adds two numbers? So I'm going to do define. What should I do? Add, right? Then the two numbers, x and y, right? Then I'll say, I want it to return x plus y. Is this okay?
Yeah.
Of course, I can call the add and put 1 and then 2, but I have to maybe print it on the screen like that. So I can run this one here and you should see the result 3 over here. As simple as this, okay? But this is not what I want to achieve. I want to define another one called subtract. Okay, I'm still going to take x and y, but this time around, I'm going to deduct this from it. Then I'll define the next one. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm only trying to define a lot of functions. Multiply, okay? And I'm going to multiply these two guys. Is anything confusing here?
No.
Is anything confusing? Okay, good. That means I can go ahead and run this one and everything should work fine. Now let's go to the use by. Let's say for any reason, you ask your user, or maybe you want to sum two numbers. Let's say x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 20. You want to sum these two numbers up, which is going to be print x plus y, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let me run this. Now that gives me 30. Oh, please, who is?
Richard,
Richard, kindly mute.
Oh. Okay. So I want to sum two numbers, but I know that I already have a function over here that's responsible for summing two numbers for me. So why do I have to worry about doing this plus this again? So this is what the concept of modules is. Module is saying that, well, once you have the thing in another file, you can import it and then use it. So let's look at this. The file is called mathematics. So I'm going to borrow a new term called import. Okay, I'm going to do import, then the name of the file, mathematics. Like that. Okay, now all I'm trying to do is that, remember, these two guys are in the same directory. So let's do import mathematics. Okay, let me try and run this and then see if you're going to get issues. Yeah, of course. We didn't get any issue after the fourth output. Now let's look at something. I can now call add on these two numbers, x 10 and then y 20. I can now call add like this and then pass x to it, where my x is 10 and then y is 20. So I can do x comma y, or I can do 10 and then 20, then take this one out. But let's look at what is going to happen if I run this code. This guy is blowing up saying that name add is not defined. Of course, we've been able to import mathematics, but when we're doing the add, we didn't tell the interpreter that this add is coming from this file. So it didn't look for add from this file. It was just looking in this code and you couldn't find this. So the best thing we can do is that, hey, get to the mathematics guide that I've imported. There's one boy called add, call it, and it should do the magic for us. Do this and you can see reloaded module mathematics. That is fine, but we want to see if we can print the result on the screen. So let me do print. So let me do result. You know, over here we are returning it. So I can save it to, or I can put it in a different container and say print result. Now let me run everything here and you can see the result being 30. Any questions up to this point? You can call anything you want. If you want to subtract, so let me put add here and do add here. I can run this and then I get my result 30. If I wanted to subtract, I wouldn't need to learn how to do subtraction again. I just need to say subtract this from that and I'll say sub. If I print sub, this guy is going to give me negative 10. So I'm just trying to utilize the code I've built here over here. Okay, it's that simple. Any question? So that is what we have here. Okay, I said you have to create one file called mathematics, define these codes. When you are done, you define another guy called use. Then you define mathematics, then you can use it anywhere you want. Okay, all right. Now, if I do import mathematics, this guy here now have access to all of the codes over here. Now, sometimes, okay, let me do this one first. You see this name is very long. Import mathematics, they use mathematics.this. So if the name of the file is long, you get yourself in trouble. You can use something we call the alias. So let me do this. We can decide to say that, hey, don't use the long name mathematics, but then use, I'm going to do it in you. Import mathematics as empty. So this time around, when I'm calling it, I'll not call the long name mathematics, but I'm saying that, hey, wherever you see empty, I'm trying to mean mathematics. Just that this term here is too long. So let me take this guy out. Let me comment it and say, hey, give me empty.add and then empty.subtract. So if I run this, everything works perfectly fine. If I do add, this guy also works perfectly fine. Any questions? Please, you need to really understand the import things because we are going to use it a lot. When we start doing pandas, you will see me do import pandas. When we are doing NumPy, you see me doing import NumPy. When we are doing machine learning modeling, you see me maybe from sklearn.preprocessing, import train test split. You see me do this one. I wouldn't want anybody to ask me what is the meaning of that import and like, okay, all right. So let me take all of these guys out. Do you have any questions? Okay, yeah.
Pasty, my question is on classes.
Classes, okay.
Yeah. So, can we go back to the class?
The class. I have to.
You have to. Okay. So my question was.
Okay.
let's say you created the human we created.
Okay.
Let's say you want to create another class, let's say contact.
Okay.
But you want it to use, because you have created certain fields within the human, like the name and the gender, you don't want to recreate it in the contact, but you want it to use those definitions of the contacts in it and add additional ones. How do you go about that? Making sense. Hello? Hello, guys, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, we can hear you. It's like Pasty went out.
Okay.
Yao.
Yeah, Nancy.
Are you, let me see if I get your question well. Are you trying to ask if the attributes in one class can be transferred to another class? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, so you see, some other programming language, you have inheritance where you can inherit the properties of one particular class. Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe Pasty's network went off.
See how Python does that.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were asking something. Hello.
Yes, so I was saying that, let's say, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Pastor, we can hear you.
So you were asking a question.
Yes, I was saying with the class that we created, human, we already defined some features of the human, like the name, gender, and other stuff. So imagine we are trying to create another class called contact, where we'll need those details in there. Instead of us creating this again, we just want to use the features within human. How do we go about it? And then probably want to add the phone number and other things to the contact one, but we want to utilize the features of human first. Do we need to create it, or we can utilize the human also within a class, the features within it?
Okay. So that is a bit advanced. That's why I didn't include it to the slides. But it's something we call inheritance.
Yeah. If it's not part of the class, cool.
It's something we call inheritance. You can actually create a class, a base class, and a new class, and then inherit all of the properties and methods of that class. We have another guy called polymorphism. Like we have a lot of things there, but because this is a beginner level, I didn't want to worry you.
Oh yeah, please, if it's outside the class, it's okay.
Okay. So maybe moving forward, if we encounter that issue where we need to write codes to inherit something, it's as simple as when you do the class. Let me share my screen. When you do the class, okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, Pastor.
Okay, you see, we had a class called human like this. And then you want to do another class called maybe contact. But contact should be able to access the information in here. You can just do this and pass human to it to say that, hey, you this guy, there are a lot of codes in human. I want you to use it. So you can now say that maybe that human dot something. Then you access.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
If but I just didn't want to confuse you. So if you had a method like define it, and we have self here, and then we had pass. We can just do that human and then call it on it. You see that it is showing up here. We can call the it over here, and it will pull the codes from here. That's because we are trying to inject it. This guy is inheriting all of the properties here, but Well, when the need arises, we'll talk about it. But for now, let's keep it cool. Okay, so we said we are going to import everything in this class, this file, mathematics.
Am I the only one not hearing?
Yeah, it seems he went off again.
Hello, guys. Sorry, I had it. Okay, where is it? Please, can you hear me?
Yes, Pastor.
Okay, all right. So we started from import mathematics. We used that long name. Import mathematics as empty. We use that small name. But this time around, we don't want to import everything. We want to import the ones we are interested in. So we can say that that one has got a different approach. You can say, hey, there is a file called mathematics. So from mathematics, I want you to import add. That's all. So therefore, if I run this, I should get myself in trouble. You see, empty. Oh, let me remove empty. Because right now, it now has access to this guy itself. But look at what happens. It doesn't know what subtract is. Do you see? Because we just imported add. Let me take this guy out and then see, and you can see it is now able to utilize the add to give me 30. So these are the three different approaches. Okay. It was like this, eh? So let me use the add here and then comment this line and comment this line as well. then remove this. And let me do one more for the add, so that at least you can get the reference for it. So mathematics dot that. Okay, like this. So I don't know if you guys have any question, but when you want to import a specific thing from that file, you have to do from the name of that file, import this. Okay, all right. So any questions so far? Any questions? All right. So if there isn't any question, I think that is it. The next things we are going to do is that to this end, we've learned loops, functions, objects, and then modules. Okay. So in the next thing, we are going to look at how to manipulate raw data. So we are going to, from next week, we start connecting to CSV and Excel files, pull the data in, start to clean, do a whole bunch of things with it. Then think afterwards, we are going to use the whole of next week, the 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, to clean data. Then the following week, we are going to do machine learning. We will build several models. Okay. Yeah, so these are materials for your reference. And yeah, this is the assignment. I had to delete this one and delete this one as well. Then next thing is actually introduction to pandas. Okay, good. So I'm going to share this file here with you once again, so that you can have the rest of this guy.
Yeah, Pasty, please, are you sharing the notebooks with us?
Come again?
The notebooks, like the Jupyter notebook.
Yes, so we are done with this, so I'll update the file, the Google Drive.
Okay.
I will export this and then put them in. Yeah.
All right.